Welcome into Plus One, a rock and roll podcast. This is your all-access pass to the people who make the music we all love. Your hosts are Chris McLernon, who has sold millions of records while being a member of Saigon Kick and Cold Sweat, and Jack Trash, a 30-year radio veteran who cut his teeth while working on the legendary Pure Rock 105.5 KNAC in Los Angeles. They'll talk to old friends and make new ones. You're on the guest list as their plus one.
Hello, kids. Welcome into the very first episode of Plus One. I'm Jack Trash.
And I'm Chris McLernon.
And this is another two guys doing a podcast.
New idea. Yeah. We are right on top of things.
Right. Cutting edge is what we are. I've had the idea to do this for a while, and it was just about finding the right person to do this with because I've been in radio forever, for like 30 something odd years. But I always want to do it with the perspective of a musician, somebody who's been up there and who has done it. And it gives you a different little perspective when talking to these rock stars. So I did an interview with Chris and we hit it off because of our loves for sharks.
That's right. That's what kind of started. You're right.
Kind of how it started. So I just called him up and said, I got an idea I want to run by you. And for some reason you've decided to go, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm being on the other end of those interviews, for 30 years. It's the ones that always stuck out for me were the ones that were a little more varied in the questioning or the approach. That sounds like interrogation. I don't want it to sound like that. But the things that get thrown at you to comment on. And there's a routine you get in, especially if you're promoting a record or a tour or whatever, and you get asked the same questions over and over. So one year with Saigon Kick, what we did was we anticipated all those questions and we typed them out, and that was our bio. And it was hilarious because these people be like, I was going to ask you these things, but you already answered them. I was like, exactly. You got to work a little bit. So that's the idea. Is I think this combination is great because of your experience in just dealing with it, dealing with people like me and above and below. And then the idea of, okay, I'll think of something that maybe you didn't because I've done it. Right. So I think that's a cool way to look at it. It's from two very similar, but really kind of completely different angles.
Yeah. And that is, and one of the things that we've decided that we wanted to do with this is we're going to talk to these guys and girls about all the relevant things. But we also want to kind of ask them some stuff that maybe they've not been asked before. It's stuff that's interesting. Yeah. And I asked them all kind of the same questions just to see what kind of answers we get.
Right. Yeah, because what I certainly don't want to do, and you and I agreed on this early, is there's no gotcha stuff. There's no, we're going to just drag some stuff out of your closet. There's not going to be any sort of, I like to say, conflict at the vegan barbecue. Mm-hmm. There's politics, get out of here. Religion, no thanks. Just we're talking about the things like if you happen to stumble on someone's tour bus and you got to hang out with them, you wouldn't just get all questions or answers about the record or touring or whatever. You'd find out that they were an avid golfer, or you'd find out they were, good at balancing things on their nose, like Gene Simmons does. That's finding stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. And it's really, it kind of opens up the people that we're talking to because they're not getting those same questions.
Right.
And for you, the listener, the watcher, you get to hear the answers to questions you might ask, but you also might get answers to questions you didn't even know you wanted to know.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And part of that we're modeling after what is it? James Litton, one of the two. He was an actor studio, inside the actor studio. Yeah. It was a set of 10 questions that he'd ask everybody. Now, for us, it's kind of like, what's your favorite sound? Okay, I get that. I think that's off the Michelin list. Or what's your least favorite sound? Or okay, that's fine, but not really. What's the sound you hate the most? Feedback at soundcheck. Not very interesting. But like one that you had thrown out was, okay, what song do you remember hearing where you literally had to stop what you were doing and go, what is this?
Right. What is that moment where music went from something here that you listen to because your parents listened to it to right here.
Yeah.
Because it changed, because for all these people, it changed their lives.
Yeah. And, you know, and then push them into the vocation that they're in.
Right.
So
we're not going to ask them to do something that we wouldn't do.
Right.
So what was that moment for you?
There's a couple of them. I think if I go by like earliest memory, I don't remember it stopping in my tracks, but it clearly pushed me forward, was singing Beatles songs with my aunts. I was the first grandchild on the Costello side of the family. And basically my aunts and uncles were like all teenagers, and the Beatles came out. And so I heard Beatle records. I mean, my earliest memory is dancing up and down on a bed with my godmother singing All My Lovin' by the Beatles. So that's kind of the formative end of it. But like hearing something on what is that? And this is a legion of people who said this, but when Van Halen's Eruption started, I remember thinking to myself, what just happened? I mean, it was like, okay, that's cool, kind of a cool guitar sound. He's playing fast, and then the second half comes in. You're just like, I was listening to my friend Len, who had brought me into his room, and said, "Dude, you got to hear this." And I was like, okay, cool. Run with the Devil. I'd heard it. Okay, great. And then that started. I was like, I turned and went, what is that? And he goes, you play guitar? You tell me. I'm like, I don't know. Did he switch to a keyboard? What? Huh? So that was just, wow. What is that? There was another one about 10, 12 years ago, maybe a little longer. It was Muse's Knights of Sidonia.
Okay.
That one hit me. I was just like, what is this? It is just, it's nuts. The guy's screaming, yelling, singing. It's got this bitchin' rhythm section going, kind of surf guitar licks. Like, what is, huh? So like I Googled the lyric while I was at the gym when I heard it. I was like, wow. I got to find out what this is. This is amazing.
Right. Shazam is a great thing.
It totally is. It's Settler too. No way, that's the Stones. It's not the Stones, I'm telling you. No, it's the Stones. It is the Stones. Okay, yeah, great.
Right.
So what about you?
For me, I believe it was, I can't remember if it was my 11th or 12th Christmas. My birthday's in January, so I wasn't quite the next number yet.
Right.
I got a stereo for Christmas, and my Santa Claus brought me Kiss Dynasty.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And my uncle brought me Foreigner's Double Vision. Wow. And so I had the stereo going on with those two records. My parents never listened to music. It was really something that was on in the house at all. Wow. So I had those two records. Then I got money for my birthday, which is a couple weeks later. Sure. I went and I bought Kiss Alive 2, Fog Hat Boogie Motel.
Oh, wow. Nice one.
Girl Wasted Youth.
Yeah, that's Collin Brothers.
Right. And then I bought, because somebody told me, because I was living in Northern California at the time, told me that this band Journey was a local band, right? So I bought I bought Evolution. So you remember how you could stack the records and then drop down, and so I had all my records there, dropping them down. Right. And I got called into dinner. My parents called me in for dinner. Right. And I just let it go. I just let the thing play. And I came back in the room as the first side of Journey Evolution was just about finishing. It was on the last song. It's a song called Sweet and Simple. Yeah. And there is a point in that song where Steve Perry hit this note that every single hair in my body stood up, and I went, whoa. And from that moment on, even though I have no talent for music, I knew that it was going to be something that was going to be a part of my life forever. Yeah, awesome. Well, I mean, and from my end of it, we need people like you. So, we don't need competition, but we need. It's so refreshing and fun and rewarding and humbling to hear someone who is just into the music. I love it. Do you play it? No, which I don't kind of understand. It's like, if you love something that much, you do it. Right. You spectate and just go, wow, that's just, I get so much of that. And I meet people like that all the time, but it's so, without that, rock bands, any band just, they just squander their career away. It's just that level of involvement emotionally is really cool. Love it. Yeah. I did a TV show once where, because I don't play anything, if we had the time with whoever I was talking to, they would give me a lesson in their instrument. Wow. And it was did I tried bass with Jeff Pilson.
Okay.
And he's got this room with all these basses and guitars on the wall, and he pulls one off and he hands it to me. And he says, okay, this is what we're gonna do. He goes, I'll teach you the Rover from Zeppelin.
Okay.
So we start to play, and he stops me before we go. And he goes, do you know that song Time by the Chambers Brothers? And I'm like, yeah, of course. He goes, that bass recorded that song. And I'm like, what are you doing? Don't take it from me.
Wow.
But yeah, we did that. And then I tried drums with Forrest Robinson, who played with Indy RE. And
okay, yeah.
And he's in Phil Collins' side band, the Delta Deep. Okay. And I swear, I never felt the left side and right side of my brain fight each other before. I was horrible at it.
Yeah. Everyone thinks, oh, I can play drums. Like, no, you can't.
No.
Right? Don't. Because think about it, man. People will like if there's someone singing, they're singing poorly, and you hear that on like The Voice and America's Got Talent all the time. So it's just going a little sharp or a little flat. Most people just kind of let it slide.
Right.
But right, and that's pitch, so they're okay with it. But a bad dancer, everybody ridicules right away.
Right.
They go right after them. Like, oh, look, it's cute. They're kind of in rhythm, not really. And but everyone will rag a bad dancer, but they'll let a bad singer kind of slide, unless the singer's really, really bad. But ruthless on dancing. But yes. I think that's the rhythm of it. Everyone thinks they just because maybe their heart has a rhythm or you breathe or whatever. There's a natural rhythm that you can translate to an instrument, and that is not the case.
No. I was humbled immediately.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that, the drums, which totally is different, is the faster I tried to play a beat, the better I was.
Wow. Yeah, that's unusual.
Yeah. So I mean, I could do that part, but try to slow it down. No, can't do it.
Right, exactly. Well, that's why now Bono, like with the Rover, boom, ba, boom, boom. That's tough. That's interesting though. A lot of people, the first thing they learn to play on a guitar or a bass is Smoke on the Water.
I can play one string, Smoke on the Water.
Then I was just going to say that. And they usually go for one string.
Yep, that's me. One string.
That is funny. We were doing the Devil in the Details record, and this shall we say, female. Let me see. Adult entertainer was visiting us in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Dancer. She was a dancer. Romancer. Typical Paul Stanley. And she said, I can play bass. And I was like, okay, I got to see this, right? So put it on her. She takes her thumb and puts it over the top of the neck and goes, I was like, well, yep, you played it.
Yep.
You weren't lying.
Exactly. I can do that. And the beginning to Barracuda.
Okay.
That's it. But that is my entire repertoire right there.
that's an interesting bunch.
Yeah.
Were there any other instruments you tried, or?
So this will give you a clue into my musical ability. So when I was in maybe third grade, we had to take an instrument.
Right.
I took the cornet, which I believe is some sort of trumpet.
Yeah, that was Louis Armstrong's instrument.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. So
you're already going uphill. You're fighting that legend, right?
Totally. Well, the reason that I picked that one is because it had the spit valve, which I thought was cool, being a third grade boy.
It's comedy, yeah.
Yeah. So I had to practice every day for a half hour every day.
Sure, yeah.
So I go into my room and I practiced the first day, and a half an hour took 4 days. It just seemed like it just the clock was not moving, and I was playing horrible.
Yeah.
Day 2, I swear this is true. Day 2, I got a tape recorder and I recorded myself. So from then on, I would go in my room, close the door, push play on the tape recorder, and then go through my baseball cards for half an hour.
That's fantastic.
My parents are going, wow, he's really not getting any better, is he?
Yeah, it's okay. Poor kid just keeps going through the same exercise over and over. That's terrible.
Exactly.
And you never got busted.
No, I did. Oh, I totally did. At school, we had to, like, after 2 or 3 weeks, we had to actually play what we were learning for a teacher. And
yeah. Oh.
And I was like, I got Johnny Bench's rookie card.
Exactly. I know who number 5 is.
Yeah.
But yeah, my son, who is a drummer now, and my daughter, they're both naturally very musical. And of course, my wife likes to say, "Well, they got it all from you." I'm like, "No, you're musical. You just don't realize it. You know, I've never tried or whatever." And Graham, as a kid, I would sit him down, and like he of course he has this charm about him. I don't know how he does it. He won a guitar at the county fair, the Coastal Carolina Fair, like a Strat. I was like, he comes home and I was like, "Where'd you get that?"
Right.
I won it at the fair. Like, well, who else would, right?
Right.
So I sit him down and I go to teach him Back in Black. It's just E, D, and A, right? Bum, his left hand's just not so not bit and then biting and whatever. But I'm watching his right hand. He's getting the chuck. He's got it.
Right.
Okay, you have the hard part. You got the groove. And I kind of waited. I was like, there's, and his pitch is perfect because you sit and Delaney's is too. But he would sit and watch like America's Got Talent. And when someone would go flat or sharp, as a little kid, you have to leave the room.
Oh, wow.
And we couldn't figure it out. Like he'd always scream at his birthday when everyone would sing happy birthday. And my mother used to say, well, it's because it's so loud. And I'm like, no, that's not it. And I finally figured out later, no, it's all these people singing out of tune.
Right.
It's making him lose his mind. He's a perfect pitch. Like, this is like needles in my ears. What are you doing to me? I'm only 3. So, and then Delaney was very much the same way, as far as like natural ability. And I've never sat down and said, okay, we're going to do this. Or you're going to take this instrument. Nope. It's like, you said you want to do it. Cool. Well, we'll run. And they had some instruments like you just mentioned of like, okay, 3rd or 4th grade, okay, you got to play the whatever. And right. Graham chose violin, and I forget what Delaney chose, but at one point Graham still had his violin, and he did the same thing you did, just like whatever, I'm out here.
Yeah.
So Delaney's watching something downstairs on someone's playing like a fiddle melody, and it's pretty, it's just nice and slow. She's like this, looking at the TV, goes upstairs, and so I follow her. She goes into Graham's room, opens the violin case, tunes it, and picks out the melody like that. Oh. I was just like, okay. Yeah. Again, I showed them nothing.
Wow.
0. When I'd work, I'd always let them come in. If I was recording, let's say an acoustic guitar, and they come in, I just stop. There wasn't get out of here, Dad's working. I'm miking up an instrument. What's wrong with you? That type of stuff. It's like, come on in, and listen. They get bored, because I just keep playing the same thing over and over.
Right.
They don't know what recording is. They're just, I thought you played the song once and left.
Right.
So I'd always just let them wander in, wander out. So there was music in the house all the time.
Right. Yeah.
But it was never kind of forced on them ever. So
no, I went to the Orange County swap meet and bought a horrible, I used to call it the Flying U because it wasn't really a Flying V, but it was kind of shaped weird. And then I went to like a Sam Ash or something like that and bought a little amp.
Right.
A buddy of mine did it too. And so we had these guitars and we went to go play it, and it didn't sound like Eruption.
I know.
And I went, nah, I'm done.
Thank you very much. I'll just watch from here on out. Yeah.
Exactly.
I would go and as a kid, you go to these shows that were coming to town, the big concerts, and I would go. Today I'd be the designated driver, but stone cold sober, no nothing, right? Because that was a lab for me. I would go and I would stare at everything. Okay, where's his hand when he's playing that, and why is that doing that? And I mean, meanwhile, my brother's throwing stuff at the stage and having a blast,
right?
And his girlfriend's throwing up next to him, and I'm just going. I'm going. But did you see what they just did? That's how you play the riff. That's now I can settle all the arguments about how you play Hell's Bells.
Right?
Everyone plays it differently, and it was like,
right.
I watched Malcolm do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I know,
right?
Because I was just that into it, man. It was just, it was just everything. It was just everything.
Right on. One of the questions that I always like to ask is, what was the first record you bought with your own money? Because a lot of people get gifted, like I got gifted the records, but one that you went out and went, okay, here is my hard-earned allowance, $5, and I want this.
Right. I want to say, because it might have been for my birthday that I got them, but I don't know. I might have gotten one of them, but it was the first 2 I ever owned were John Denver's greatest hits and Elton John's greatest hits.
Oh,
so But the one I remember kind of fitting that bill you just mentioned, I loaded wood chips at a neighbor's house. We lived in Ohio at the time. I unloaded wood chips out of a truck for like 3 hours. And the guy paid me $5. And I went right to Music Mart in Mount Vernon, Ohio, and I bought Queen's Night at the Opera.
There you go. There you go.
I was just because my cousin, I visited my cousin that summer, and in one visit, he introduced me to Kiss Alive, Led Zeppelin 4, Queen, Sheer Heart Attack, and something else. And I was just like, holy crap. I didn't know this type of music existed. I was playing like Beatles and stuff, which is great, fine, or what was on the radio, My parents loved stuff like ABBA and the Carpenters and Barry Manilow, just all the super duper pop of that era. So that's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
And once my cousin John was like, hey, have you heard this? Have you heard Kiss? And I was like, well, I've seen pictures, but I don't know. And he puts it on. I was like, oh, hold it. Whoa. Play that again.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing.
Yeah. But
yours was what? Boogie Hotel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had, Journey Evolution in the Girl record. But when I was super young, when I was like in first grade, before the music all hit, my friend had older brothers.
Right.
And they would play so loud, Parasite from Kiss. So
good one.
Exactly. So, but I did get Destroyer from Kiss, and this my buddy brought it over, and we were playing it. And there's a line in the song "Great Expectations" where Gene sings, "You look at the stage and clutch your breast," or something like that. And I remember, not that my mom would ever be able to hear the lyrics, or pick them out, but we decided that we're going to go up and we're going to make we're going to talk really loud to her during that part of the song. So she didn't get it. And it's the same reason that I bought Hotter Than Hell from Kiss on 8-track, because it didn't have the back cover with Paul Stanley with the girl with the star over her name.
Right, with the pasting. Yeah, her wardrobe malfunction. Yeah,
exactly. So that was why I bought it on 8-track.
Ah, clever. Yeah,
I'm trying to protect you, Mom. I'm just trying to protect
you. Exactly. That's not my job. I take care of the parent. Yeah. Right. We had the same moment with Night at the Opera on Death on Two Legs when he says, "Now you can kiss my ass goodbye."
Right.
I remember turning it up. I remember my father, who really didn't do stuff like this too much, is kind of like, you might not want to do that. And he was 6'4" and a former Marine, so he made his point pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing, same exact thing. But hey, you just hit on a possible other question, which to ask everyone is, any brothers or sisters, and where are you in the birth order?
Right.
Because I'm a big believer that the birth order matters, man. I'm the oldest of 5, and me and my youngest sister are different.
Yeah, I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest child and grandchild.
Yes, I'm the oldest grandchild on the Costello side. It might be the McLernon side too. No, I was not. My Aunt Jean had. She was older than my dad, so she had more. Those are my cousins, the Davidsons. Yeah.
Right. So the John Denver Greatest Hits. That was one of the 2 records that my mom had.
Yeah,
John Denver and Neil Diamond.
Yeah. John Denver. I think it's forgotten. Like literally how big that guy was.
Oh yeah, huge,
monstrous. And of course he died in that plane crash of his own making, literally like his own plane. So I think today, he'd still be huge.
Well, no doubt. And my dad. The only record I ever remember him having is a Willie Nelson record, because he thought he could sing better than him.
Well, I like your confidence.
It's hard not to argue.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, Dad, run with that, would you?
Yeah.
Let's see it.
Yes.
Or hear it. But yeah, wow. I like that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can do it better than Willie.
Yeah.
But he seems to be doing all right for himself. I don't want to take away from him.
Yeah, no, he's done. He's just fine.
Yeah, he seems to be. Not only that, that guy is just he's living clearly way past his what we all thought was his expiration date.
For sure.
Someone better get stem cell off of him and figure out how that's working, because we're going to want that at some point in our history as a human being.
Yeah, him and Keith Richards.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. What was there? There was a joke when Charlie Watts died that he got up to heaven and Keith was already there or something. Somehow in both places.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, it's interesting to think about that, man. All of the Stones, except for Brian Jones, all of the Stones are alive,
Yeah,
except for Charlie, the
right,
drummer, in the
right.
back. You know, I just how is that? And then you think kind of the '70s ones. There's you figure there's a lot of other people who should be gone too, just because of the parting they did.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but it's it seems like it's the guys from my era who were taken out mostly by like pills or heroin.
right,
You know,
right.
or car crash, but that's still kind of rare.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was the earlier guys. If they made it past 27, they were golden.
Right? Yeah. Because it's at 27 Club. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
which is way larger than I thought.
It's huge.
It really is, and it's kind of frightening. Like,
Yeah,
what is it about that age?
right. Exactly. Like I thought of this. I'm a big fan of the Pretty Reckless.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think Taylor Momsen is uber talented, and I love her voice and all that kind of stuff. And I was listening to her latest record, and I needed to Google to see how old she was.
Yeah.
You just make it past 27. Just make it past 27.
Come on, you can do it.
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding. On the, I don't think we have it on the list, but have we asked first concerts of anybody?
Not yet. Not so far.
Yeah, I don't think we have. That might
Oh
be.
no, actually, we did get one that answer without even having to ask it from
Yes.
Jeff Keith.
Yes, we did. That's right, we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he might have started a trend there. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's, I think, this is not so. We're not going to be trying to do the Chris Farley show questions as well.
Right.
Like, remember your first concert? That was really cool. But it's like, okay, who was it? How old were you? And why? Like, I was 18 until I saw my first concert.
Yeah, I was older too. I might have been like 16 or something like that. It was Journey and Blue Oyster Cult and Triumph and Aldo Nova at the Rose Bowl. And my dad knew I wanted to go, and he paid two of his employees to take me and bought the tickets for the show, and then paid them for the day to take me to the show. Little did he know these people they did every drug imaginable at that show.
Married to the year.
Exactly. All I know is, and the two things I remember vividly about that show was walking in, sitting in the end zone. The stage is all the way on the other side of the field, and Aldo Nova's bass drum, I thought it was going to come out of my chest. Which I think is
kind of coming all the way back.
Right. Exactly. And then we were there for the whole show. And then by the time Journey played its third song, I was 5 yards from the stage.
Oh, wow. Kept going. Doing the dark. There you go. See?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. So because I remember talking to a couple of people who actually saw the Beatles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Here's one for you. So, I mean, I love hearing stories like this, and you've gotten to know me anyway. I like getting stuff out of people you wouldn't normally get in a conversation. So I'm talking to this woman, and she's doing a frame for me, right? So we just kind of start talking with her. Then she goes, well, she said, who's your favorite band? I said, the Beatles. She goes, I saw the Beatles. I said, really? She said, at Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Twice.
Mm.
And I said, well, where are you? Oh, we were right up front because my father worked for Arista or whatever it was. And I was like, holy crap. She goes, oh, wait, but it gets better. You know who's sitting next to me? Groucho Marx and his daughter.
Wow.
Holy crap. You win every concert story ever.
Yes.
You saw the Beatles twice, and they're both on record.
Yep.
And you sat there with Groucho Marx for one of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
She is definitely the winner.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we'll have to name the question series after her.
Yes, for sure.
But yeah, again, it's okay. It's like with Jeff, I think who did he say it was? It was Dave Green, right?
Yeah, Dave the Green was Boston and Van Halen and Black Sabbath,
AC/DC, and Pat Travers.
Yep.
And I think Foreigner, maybe. I mean, obviously, someone can correct us here. But You know, we got to get something more out of him than not Jeff, but the person. It was this band.
Yeah.
Okay, why? How old were you? You know, your story being going with the two employees. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you tell your dad?
What's that?
Did you tell your dad what they were doing?
Not until much later. Not until much later, because I was hoping I was going to get to go to more shows.
I was going to say, and I'm sure they'd be, hey, we'll take your kid anytime, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a show in San Francisco we can all go to as well.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I never went to any shows with either of my parents.
I've only been to. No, I can't say that. I took my mom to see Neil Diamond.
Okay, cool.
And then I took my dad to see John Mellencamp.
Okay, cool.
So those are the only two times I've ever been to shows with them.
Yeah, on a related note to that, I took my dad last summer to see Herb Alpert.
Oh.
And the Tijuana Brass.
Nice.
That was one of my parents did have records, and that was one of the ones he had. It was a whipped cream record, you know.
Oh, and of course.
Light. So I got 6-year-old kid. I'm like, hey, what's that? And so they played that. Had Beatles, Rubber Soul, that I think like the Letterman, Nancy Wilson, and a bunch of John Denver, obviously. But he loved Herb Alpert. So Herb was playing here in Charleston at the Charleston Music Hall, which is this amazing venue. So got really good seats, and he just killed it. He was just, this is where my father and I, you can tell, it was going bonk right off his head. He didn't get it.
Right.
We go outside afterwards, and I'm losing it. It's Herb Alpert. The room is so small, I can hear Herb's trumpet without the PA.
Oh wow.
Right. So I'm that close.
Right.
Right. And his wife was the singer for Sergio Mendes in Brazil '66.
Oh wow.
So she's singing all those hits. He's playing all his stuff. Then he's playing modern stuff as well. He does a question and answer, thing, and I yell out a question. I think he ignored me because it was way too nerdy.
Right.
Because it was, hey, and I'm loud, and I think he just kind of went, and I was not far away. I said, hey, how did Herb Alpert, the record company president, deal with Herb Alpert, the artist? He's the A in A&M.
Right, of course.
Yeah. And he ignored it. I was bummed. Yeah. But so we're outside afterwards, and I said to my dad, "So what do you think?" I'm all, it's Herb Alpert. I'm all amped up. Right. It happens after every gig. I'm always just. I went and saw Graham a couple of months ago. Come home from the gig, and I'm awake till 3:00.
Right.
So he goes, "It was great. Thank you so much. Great songs and so on." I was like, "Okay, cool, great." He goes, "What do you think?" I said, "It was amazing. I'm in the room with the guy who wrote those songs, and the feeling on it that was on the record was right there." And it was moving the air, in our room the way it moved in the studio at A&M and da da da. And I've been hearing these things all my life, and that's the guy who actually did it. And he's just kind of looking at me like, it was just like a guy playing a horn. I like the songs. Okay, do we need to put you in a home? Are you all right? Just like, okay. Well, there was the musician explaining what makes musicians tick to a non-musician.
Right.
Good night. Buy a T-shirt on the way out.
Yep. Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know, that feeling is just, it's hard to describe. And maybe we should try and drag that out of people too. Like, okay,
yeah, for sure.
You went to the show, and whoever it was,
right.
What'd it do? And I don't mean like, oh, it was exciting. It was this, it was that. It was like literally how did it hit you?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think that's great. Well, this is what you're going to kind of get, only with a guest. It won't just there'll be a third box if you're watching on YouTube.
A +1, as it were.
A +1, exactly. Yeah, so and that's kind of the way I end all my radio shows is I'm Jack Trash, this is whatever station, and live your life to 11. So for here, I'm just going to tell you to live your life to 10 +1.
Thank you for listening to this episode of +1, a rock and roll podcast. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to get all the latest backstage info. Leave a 5-star review. Check out our past shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out our video of this episode and the past ones on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. New episodes drop every Wednesday.